Hello everyone and welcome to my presentation. Let me start by say a few words about my own background. So I am Mazharul Islam. I currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Science and Technology Meghalaya. As you can see on the screen, our topic today is computer hardware assembling. So first of all, I will discuss history and generation of computers. Computers have gone through many changes over time. The first generation of computers started around 1940s, and since then there have been 5 generations of computers until 2023. Computers evolved over a long period of time, starting from the 16th century, and continuously improved themselves in terms of speed, accuracy, size, and price to become the modern day computers. The different phases of this long period are known as computer generations. The first generation of computers was developed 1940 to 1950s, followed by the second generation from 1950 to 1960s, the third generation from 1960 to 1970s, the fourth generation from 1971 until the present, and the fifth generation are still being developed. So in this presentation, I will discuss the computer generation in great detail. So in our next slide, we'll discuss the features, advantages, disadvantages of every generation of computers. So now let's move to the next slide. So here the main characteristics of first generation of computers. The first generation used vacuum tube technology and were built between 1946 and 1950. Vacuum tubes were expensive and produced a lot of heat, which made these computers very expensive and only affordable to large organizations. Machine language was the programming language used for these computers, and they could not multitask. The ENIAC was the first electronic general purpose computer that used almost 18,000 vacuum tubes and was built in 1943 for war-related calculations. Some other examples of first generation of computer are UNIVAC 1, IBM 650, IBM 701, etc. The first generation of computer consumed high amount of energy or electricity. Furthermore, they were not portable due to their weight and size. So these are some disadvantages of first generation of computer. But the first generation was tough to hack and was quite strong. The first generation could perform calculations quickly in just 1,000 of a second. So these are some advantages of first generation of computers. So let's move to the next slide. So in this slide, we'll discuss the features, advantages, and disadvantages of second generation of computers. The second generation of computers was developed in the late 50s and 1960s. These computers replaced vacuum tubes with transistors, making them smaller, faster, and more efficient. This was done as transistors were more reliable than vacuum tubes, required less maintenance, and generated less heat. Second generation computers were smaller and more portable, making them accessible to a wider audience. Magnetic core memory was also introduced in this generation, which was faster and more reliable. This laid the foundation for further developments, paving the way for the third generation that used integrated circuits. The second generation computers were only used for specific objectives and required frequent maintenance. The second generation of computer used punch card for inputs, which required frequent maintenance. So these are some disadvantages of second generation of computer. On the other hand, the second generation of computer provided better speed and improved accuracy. Computers developed in this generation were smaller, more reliable, and capable of using less power. So these are some advantages of second generation of computer over the first generation of computer. Let's move to the next slide. So in this slide, I will discuss the features, advantages, and disadvantages of third generation of computer. The third generation of computers were developed between 1960s and 1970s. This generation used microchips or integrated circuits, making it possible to create smaller, cheaper, and much faster computers. The third generation of computers was much faster than previous generations, with computational times reduced from microseconds to nanoseconds. New input devices like the mouse and keyboard were introduced, replacing older methods like punch card. Moreover, new functionalities like multi-programming and time sharing are also developed in this generation. Furthermore, remote processing were introduced, allowing for more efficient use of computer resources in this generation. The use of integrated circuits made them more reliable, and since they are smaller in size and require less space than previous generations, so these are the main advantages of third generation of computer over the previous generation of computers. But advanced technology was needed to manufacture IC chips, and formal training was necessary to operate third generation of computers. So these are some disadvantages of this generation of computers. In the next slide, we'll discuss the features, advantages, and disadvantages of fourth generation of computers. Fourth generation computers were developed in 1972 after third generation that used microprocessors. They used very large scale integrated circuits, in short term, VLSI circuits, which contained about 5,000 transistors capable of performing complex activities and computations. Fourth generation computers were more adaptable, had more primary storage capacity, were more faster and more reliable than previous generations, and were also portable, small, and required less electricity. Intel was the first company to develop a microprocessor used in fourth generation computer. Programming languages used in these generations are high-level languages. For example, Python, C#, Java, JavaScript, Rust, Kotlin, etc. This generation of computer could perform many accurate calculations, but they use complex VLSI chips, and VLSI chip manufacturing requires advanced technology. Furthermore, to build these computers, integrated circuits were required, and to develop those, cutting-edge technology was needed. So these are one of the disadvantages of this generation of computer. Fourth generation computers were smaller and more dependable, and graphics user interface technology was used in this generation to provide users with better comfort. So these are some advantages of this generation of computer. In our next slide, we'll discuss the features, advantages, and disadvantages of fifth generation of computer. The fifth generation of computers developed after the fourth generation and is still being developed. Computers on fifth generation use artificial intelligence to perform various tasks. These computers are programming languages such as Python, R, C#, Java as input methods. The fifth generation computers employ ULSI technology, that is ultra large scale integration, parallel processing, and artificial intelligence to perform specific computation and develop AI software. They can perform intricate tasks such as image recognition, human speech interpretation, natural language understanding, etc. Examples of fifth generation include laptops, desktops, notebooks, Chromebooks, etc. These computers are lightweight and easy to move around. Also, they are easier to repair, and parallel processing technology was improved in these computers. So these are some advantages of this generation of computer over the previous generations. On the other hand, some unauthentic person can use it for spying on people, since this generation computers are AI based, and also fear of unemployment due to AI replacing jobs. So these are some disadvantages of fifth generation of computers. So in this presentation, we have explored what the computer generation is. We have also explored different computer generations and their main advantages and disadvantages in great detail. So let's move to the next slide. Here we'll discuss architecture of computer. So this is the basic block diagram of computer system. So it basically consists of the input module, the central processing unit, the output module. Furthermore, the central processing unit comprises of control unit and arithmetic logical unit. There is another part that is called memory unit. So in the next slide, we'll discuss the function of each component in detail. So first of all, we'll discuss the input module. All the data received by the computer goes through the input unit. The input unit comprises different devices like a mouse, keyboard, scanner, etc. In other words, each of these devices acts as a mediator between the users and the computer. The data that is to be processed is put through the input unit. The computer accepts the raw data in binary form. It then processes the data and produces the desired output. The three major functions of the input unit are: it takes the data to be processed by the users, then it converts the given data into machine readable form, and then transmits the converted data into the main memory of the computer. So these are three main functions of the input unit. The sole purpose is to connect the user and the computer. In addition, this creates easy communication between them. In this slide, we'll discuss about central processing unit. Central processing unit, or the CPU, is the brain of the computer. This is because it works the same way a human brain works. As the brain controls all human activities, similarly the CPU controls all the tasks. Moreover, the CPU conducts all the arithmetic and logical operations in the computer. The CPU basically consists of two parts, namely arithmetic logical unit and control unit. Both of these units work in synchronization. The CPU processes the data as a whole. In this search, the parts of the CPU. So as I mentioned earlier, it consists of two parts. The first part is arithmetic logical unit. The arithmetic logical unit is made of two terms, arithmetic and logic. There are two primary functions that this unit performs. Data is inserted through the input unit into the primary memory, performs the basic arithmetic operation on it, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. It performs all sorts of calculation required on the data, and then sends back data to the storage. This unit also responsible for performing logical operations like and, or, equal to, less than, etc. In addition to this, it conducts merging, sorting, and selection of the given data. Let's move to the next slide. So in this slide, we'll discuss about control unit. The control unit, as the name suggests, is the controller of all the activities or tasks and operations. All this is performed inside the computer. The memory unit sends a set of instructions to the control unit, and then the control unit in turn converts those instructions. After that, these instructions are converted to control signals. These control signals help in prioritizing and scheduling activities. Thus, the control unit coordinates the task inside the computer in synchronization with the input and output unit. So this is about the functioning of control unit. So in our next slide, we'll discuss about memory unit. So here is the function of memory unit. So all the data that has to be processed or has been processed is stored in the memory unit. The memory unit acts as a hub of all the data. It transmits it to the required part of the computer whenever necessary. The memory unit works in synchronization with the CPU. This helps in faster accessing and processing of the data, thus making tasks easier and quicker. The memory unit of the computer consists of two parts. The first part is primary memory, and secondly, secondary memory. So first of all, we will discuss primary memory. So this type of memory cannot store a vast amount of data. Therefore, it is only used to store a recent data. The data stored in the primary memory are temporary, and also it can get erased once the power is switched off. Hence, the primary memory is often referred to as volatile memory. One example of primary memory is RAM, which stands for random access memory. RAM is directly accessible by the CPU. It is used for reading and writing purposes. For data to be processed, it has to be first transferred to the RAM and then to the CPU. The second type is secondary memory. As I explained above, the primary memory stores temporary data, thus it cannot be accessed in the future. For permanent storage purposes, secondary memory is used. It is also called permanent memory or auxiliary memory. The hard disk is an example of secondary memory. Even in a power failure, data does not get erased easily. Hence, secondary memory is called non-volatile memory. And one example of secondary memory is ROM, that is read-only memory. So in this slide, I will explain the function of output module. So all the data or information sent to the computer once processed is received by the user through the output unit. That means the output unit is the place where the result after processing the data is stored. Devices like printers, monitors, projectors, etc. all come under the output unit. The output unit displays the data either in the form of a soft copy or a hard copy. The printer is for the hard copy, the monitor is for the display. The output unit accepts the data in binary form from the computer. It then converts it into a readable form for the user. So this is about the operation of architecture of computer. So I hope all of you have understood this topic. So in the next slide, we'll discuss the difference between software and operating system. So basically, a software is a set of rules or instructions that are given to a computer to perform some functions. Basically, software is classified into two types: application software and system software. Application software is additional software in computer which is used to perform a specific function. Users has a direct access to this application software, and this software is not mandatory in a system. That means we can use system without this application software. On the other hand, system software is the main software of a computer that has a direct access to the system's hardware. This means it takes care and monitors all the other functions of a computer. It manages computer resources. A computer does not work without system software. Operating system is a system software that acts as an interface between the user and the system's hardware. So let's move to the next slide. So in this slide, I will discuss what is a system software. So a system software, also known as a system program, is a set of computer programs that are used to operate various hardware components that are connected to the computer system. It acts as an interface between the user and application software. This is the main component that controls all the internal working of the system. It acts as a platform to run other application software. So basically, system software are classified into two types. Firstly, operating system, and secondly, driver software. So operating system is a software that sits in between the software and hardware of the computer system. It acts as a mediator and provides the interface to interact with them. Operating systems are used in computers, laptops, televisions, mobiles, etc. The second part is driver software. So driver is a software program that manages all the external devices or hardware components that are connected to the computer. It does not have user interface, and it is present in between the operating system and hardware and allows operating system to use hardware whenever that request is made. Usually, it is written in C or C++ languages. So in our next slide, I will discuss the system software. So system software are classified into the following types. First one is utility software. So utility software maintains the smooth functioning of the computer. It assists the functioning of the operating system and provides necessary environment that is required for running the OS. Utility software comes along with operating system package. Then they can also be installed separately. Antivirus software, file management tools, compression tools, disk management tools, disk cleanup tools, all are examples of utility software. So in this slide, I will discuss what is an operating system. So operating system is a system software that acts as a mediator between the user and hardware. It manages all the hardware components. It provides an environment for the user to interact with various applications, execute programs, and use hardware components, etc. Operating system is the essential part of a computer system. Furthermore, operating system is the first program to run when the computer is turned on. BIOS will start running the operating system once computer is started. It manages other application software, hardware devices, allocates memory, storage, management, etc. So following are the different types of operating system. First one is batch operating system. So batch operating system allows multiple users to use it at the same time, but there are no connections between the users. This operating system does not directly interact with the hardware. There are certain operators between the operating system and hardware in the batch operating system. The second one is time sharing operating system. So in time sharing operating system, each task is given with certain amounts of time to execute. Once the time is completed, the control is shifted to the next task. The third one is distributed operating system. So in distributed operating system, all computer systems are connected to an operating system, and each computer has its own memory and CPU, and they are all connected to a single operating system. Here, connected computers can access various files from the network which are not actually present in them. The fourth one is network operating system. So here, computers have their own operating system and are connected to a common server. Means they have a common server. And the last one is real-time operating system. This type of operating system are designed to perform specific tasks in a given time limit. They are widely used in missiles, airbag, etc. So I hope all of you have understood the topics I have explained till now. So since there is a time limit, so I should conclude today here. And In our next presentation, I will discuss the further parts of computer hardware and assembling. So thank you for listening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.